Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
I am hearing things, but it's not coming through well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better. Am I coming through?
Yes, you are.
Harry, check your video or audio, please.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying a new location tonight
Okay.
because when I was on the call with the CNN Loot Top Committee, I lost a connection for a while, so I'm at the German American Society, so I'm at the Midland Library outside.
Yeah. Okay. And Susan,
So,
we can see you, but I haven't heard you.
I don't see a picture of Susan. I just see Susan's name.
Yeah, just her name. Well, that means that she's here.
Her computer's here. And Meryl's here. Good evening, Meryl.
Good evening.
Marina. You made it. Masked and everything. Good to have you. Hey, Holly made it. Talia, you've got a big leaf in your way. That works. I can't hear you, but
Oh, yeah, got it now.
all right.
I often have leaves in my way.
I didn't realize I was on mute when you were talking to me, Tamara. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm wearing a mask because George is negative still, so we want to try to keep it that way.
Wow.
So,
Oh, good to have you.
yeah, good to be here.
Andrew, welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. We're just little bouncing heads here, but like it's a Hollywood Squares, but different.
Exactly.
So you've got one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7. Oh, Zachary's here. It's 8 board members. So now we have 8 board members. We can begin. Are we recording?
Yes, we are recording, and we are also live on YouTube.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tamara DeRitter. I'm the chair of the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association, and welcome to some of your first board meetings here with us. And I'd like for us to just introduce ourselves and go around the room. I've been on the board, my goodness, since 2007, and actually been the chair for the past 6 years. And that's, I didn't have any gray hair before then. Now I do. And I'm co-chair of the Land Use and Transportation Committee. So I'm going to pass it on to Richard.
Hi, I am Richard Crockett. I've been treasurer for a good number of years. I haven't kept track of how many they are. Lived in the neighborhood for about 40, and looking forward to getting to know all the new board members. Terry.
Terry Parker, board member, Land Use and Transportation Committee member, and rep to CNN for the Land Use Committee. And my internet says it's unstable. I've been on the board, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, something like that. I'm not quite sure.
And Terry is
Did
broadcasting
everybody
from his
freeze
car.
here?
I just want to let people know that you're broadcasting from your car, right?
That is correct. And the internet was unstable, and that surprises me because I've done things here before and it hasn't been, but I'm trying a different location than what I've tried before.
Okay, let's pass it on to Zachary.
Hi, folks. My name is Zachary Lauritsen. I've been about a year and a half involved in Rose City Park Neighborhood Association. Newly elected board member. Looking forward to meeting everybody. And just as a heads up, I'm on dad duty tonight, so I may have to step away from time to time for the little one who you probably saw just a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Tamara,
Pass it on to
before you go
Holly.
on, I'm going to move. Tamara?
Yeah,
Oh, she can't hear me.
I hear you. I think he's going to move his car. Holly, go ahead. You can introduce yourself.
Tamara, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Terry.
I'm going to move my car a little closer to the building and see if it'll help. So you may lose me for a minute.
Okay, got it.
Can everyone hear me okay? I'm Holly Hemingway. I've lived in the neighborhood about 23 years and I'm extremely new to this. And on top of that, I'm going to try to do my best to take minutes tonight. So bear with me. And I may ask some questions, ask you to repeat some things just to make sure I get everything. So that's who I am.
Thank you. Talia.
Hi, I realized I'm on my son's iPad. So his name is Eli, but I'm not Eli, I'm Talia. And yeah, I'm new, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I think, I realized recently that we've been saying that we've lived in this neighborhood for 4 years, for many, many years now. So I think it must be, I don't know. Andrew, do you know how long it's been? We moved a year after you guys.
Yeah, we've been here 5 years, so you've been here 4.
Oh, okay. So we're right. So I'm right. Okay, I guess we've been here 4 years. But we've lived in this kind of area a bunch. We're on 47th and then 53rd, and so I like Rose City Park.
That's great. Andrew, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Andrew Duchan, next door neighbor to Talia. And yeah, so been in the neighborhood for 5 years and in Portland for almost 10 years now. So yeah, just interested in getting involved in things.
Great to have you, Andrew. Marina, you would introduce yourself.
Hey there, I'm Marina Samultanos, and for those who weren't on the call at the beginning, pardon the mask. I was just diagnosed. I tested positive, and we're trying to keep the husband negative. So I have been in Portland for a year, in Rose City Park for about 6-7 months. I was talking to Don, who is a neighbor of mine. He's just a couple of houses up, and I just was speaking to him about how involved I was in my neighborhood back home, the things that I like to get involved in, and he suggested running for a spot on the board. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you. Beth, you're here.
I am here. Hello, everyone. I'm Beth Ferris, new board member. Excited to be here. Thank you. I've been in Portland. It'll be 3 years this August. So love it here and excited to contribute and help out.
Wonderful. Good to have you. Ian, you're here. Can you show your face? Hey,
Hey folks, I'm Ian. Can y'all hear me? Okay, great. I am solo dadding tonight. So dinner's on the table and my disorganized kitchen is in the background. I've lived in properly in Rose City Park for a year. lived on 46, so just over the line for a couple years prior to that. Been in Portland 5 or 6. Been from Oregon for 40 almost. Good to see y'all.
Great to have you. And we are missing Kelly, who's going to be coming in late. And Don Levine is not going to be able to join us. And Grace Mattioli stepped down as soon as she stepped up as secretary. So she got a new job. So that position is open. And we have a couple other people here with us. Meryl, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Merrill. I've been in the neighborhood since 2005. I live on the corner of 62nd and Northeast Sacramento. I'm here to oppose the invalidation of the vote that was taken on April 5th. So I just want to make my position known. You know, when we get to that, if we get to that, I'd like to be heard at that point. Thank you.
Okay, and Susan Ferguson?
Hello, I'm Susan Ferguson. I've lived in the neighborhood for about 35 years. I live on Sacramento between 61st and 62nd, and I'm a longtime deliverer of the neighborhood newsletter.
Great. Okay, who else? We've got Nick here. Nick Putnam. You want to say hi?
Hello. I live down the block from Tamara on Broadway, and I've been in the neighborhood for about 15 years. Almost exactly 15 years since we're in June.
Oh, great. Great to have you. And Nick is running for an at-large position at tonight's meeting. Just to let folks know. Sharon, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Sharon Fuchs. I live on the corner of 61st and Sacramento Street, and I am on the Land Use and Transportation Committee.
Good to have you. Okay, is there anyone I missed here? I don't see anyone else. Okay, I want to welcome everyone, and we do have a land acknowledgement and neighborhood agreements that we walk through and speak about. And I would welcome anyone's help in reading those items, but I need to have my share screen enabled.
Getting on it.
Okay. We're really slick here. Working on it. It's amazing what we've done in, the last 3 years. Everything is on Zoom. Everything is on these fabricated devices, and it's so different from when I was a kid. I'm just saying. This is so wonderful. Hey, I love it. And I love being able to do this without having to infect anybody else. So I really appreciate the technology that we have now. Not saying that we're always the best at it, but I think we're learning together. Okay, let's see. We have, where are the neighborhood agreements? Well, I have to step out of this in order to get to them. Here we are. These are the neighborhood agreements that we have agreed upon by the board on June 21st of last year. And it helps guide us. Sometimes we have very frustrating topics, including Sacramento slow streets, where people are on both sides. So this is how we've come up with some language to deal with that.
Can't see your screen yet.
You cannot see the screen. Okay. Let me see what I can do about that. Wow. I'm so good at this. I can't tell you how amazed I am. All right. Okie dokie. Well, I'm just going to have to read them without showing everybody what it is. Okay. We take collective and individual ownership. We will center and prioritize most marginalized voices. We will assume best intentions and will bring our best intentions. We will use ouch and oops to identify harms and to swiftly apologize in reply. We will take space and make space. We will listen for understanding and remain respectfully engaged. We will deal with issues, not with the people. We will be willing to experience discomfort in difficult conversations. And we will expect that difficult issues will not be fixed quickly, but we will continue to do our work to support and engage our neighborhood and related communities as we walk through these processes. Then there's a land acknowledgement statement, and that was adopted last year on November 2nd by the board. As a neighborhood, we acknowledge the unceded land we occupy and its original inhabitants, including the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Clackamas, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalipuya, Malala, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River, currently united as the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde. The community includes over 30 tribes and bands from Western Oregon, Northern California, and Southwest Washington. We acknowledge that this land was seized through coercion and dishonesty, as well as brutality. We acknowledge the violent history of Euro-American settlement that sought to extinguish indigenous life from this land. We recognize the enduring influence of that history on our region and the nearly 70,000 Native people descended from over 380 tribes living here today. Many of the major roads in Rose City Park connected Chinook villages between three rivers, which white colonizers named the Columbia, Willamette, and the Sandy, instead of honoring the original names, the older names, such as Nichiwana, which means Great River, for the largest river of the three. Rose City Park mission statement is that Rose City Park Neighborhood Association works to build a safe and equitable and healthy environment for all neighbors, present and future. Okay, that's that. Okay, I'm trying to get back onto the screen. Are you still there?
Yes, we are.
Ah, there you are. Couldn't find your screen. Boom, there you are. Okay, now we have board orientation. Did everyone have a chance to look over the different documents that I sent out and what's in the document package? There was a key, and that key had a number of different goodies in it. One is the bylaws, and then we have Robert's Rules of Order. It's my cat, she helps. And a number of other items that I can't remember off the top of my head. And I can share the screen on this one, if I'm able. Okay, there are the keys. Okay.
Okay, that worked.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. in this, we've got, again, the bylaws, communication guidance, and that would include Robert Rules of Order, neighborhood agreements, land acknowledgement statement, and the equity screen that would be used for decision making. We have the board goals from the last year, and that itself is kind of interesting, and I've got that in a separate hard copy. We also have draft best practices from 2016. We've never updated those. And then we have the board directory and calendar. And I am working with the other officers updating the directory because we need to get everybody's address and email. And then we also have a calendar that is going to be a public calendar, which identifies all of our meeting times, dates, and upcoming general membership meetings, as well as events. So that's kind of the key. Out of all of these, the one which is the tracking is actually some of the most interesting stuff for us in order to keep us moving along in projects. And I'll bring that up as we go along and talk about some of the projects.
Hey, Tamara.
Yeah?
The link in the first and second are the same.
Oh, are they? They shouldn't be. Well, I can't fix that right now.
Okay, just to let you know.
Yeah, well, thank you. I will fix that. My apologies. Are there any questions on these items?
Tamara, on the board goals,
Yep.
the first one was around quantifying livability, and then there were some sub goals on there. Did that goal, was that goal met? Was there a product that came out of that it'd be interesting to read?
Let's see. We've got board goals. Can you see the screen?
No,
Am I still sharing?
no.
Okay.
Got it now.
Okay. As far as you were asking, what was that? Zachary, you're talking about whether or not we met the equity.
The livability.
Yeah, sorry, baby crying. Yeah, a little bit. There we go. Let's see.
Well, defining neighborhood livability, we actually sidestepped that by changing the mission statement so it didn't have livability, which can also be seen as code words for white settlement. So your question was in the metrics for, say that again?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the document. It says quantify neighborhood livability, which it sounds like you said that was the idea of livability was taken out. And
Right.
then communication and liaison, conservation and improvement of character, ordinances, policies, benefit of the neighborhood, and other issues affecting livability. So it sounds like there was some effort, or the idea, at least when the goals were written, there was some effort to create some sort of product or some sort of guidelines or rubric that would define these things. And I was just curious if that happened, or if there was any kind of product that came out that we should be aware of and take a look at.
I'm trying to catch up with you. Is it under number one or number two?
It's under number 1 and then subset A, B, C, B.
Okay. Well, with that, we did create a diversity committee that came about with the language that we just spoke about, the neighborhood agreements, as well as the land acknowledgement statement and the equity screen. So, and all 3 of those items were then adopted by the board. So I think we did get products, and the idea is that we would be able to share that material at every meeting that we have in order for people to understand what the ground rules are as we're moving forward. So I think we did get pretty far on that. The diversity committee decided that they didn't need to keep on meeting for the sake of meeting, but they're available anytime that we need to call on them to help out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, I think those sound like, obviously that work is important, but it sounds different than what I was reading there in those 4 bullets. But we can talk about that. We can circle back offline, so we have to use everyone's time trying to dig into that question a little bit more.
Okay. Well, the thing is that these are last year's goals. So what I'd like to do is have a retreat at some point in the near future and then develop our own goals for our year together, if that works for you. It's harder to implement someone else's goals and understand what you're supposed to be doing. But some of these actually are being met as far as metrics. We did have a good number of people at our last meeting. We had over 30 people, and we are trying to make sure that our actions are again, at least 50% of the board attends the meetings, and that is happening. So yes, I think this warrants a broader discussion, but we can do that at another time, unless you want to talk about it now. We have a few more items for this section. We do have secretary and at-large positions available, and I believe Ian had said that he would be interested in serving as the new secretary. Is that right, Ian?
Yeah, that's right, Tamara. If folks will have me, let me know what else you need from me.
Okay. So we have one person that is willing to step up and be our secretary. Do I hear a motion to bring him on as our new secretary?
I would move to have Ian Davey become our secretary effective immediately.
Okay. I would second that if you would amend it to being the secretary after Holly goes through the throes of getting the minutes done this time around.
Okay, in the new fiscal year. Does that work?
That works, because July is our new fiscal year.
Right.
Excellent. I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, we have a new secretary. Thank you so much, Ian.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to it.
And next we have Nick Putnam is offered to be another at-large member of our board. And I sent out his bio previously, and I just wanted to see if anyone has any questions of Nick. Nick has helped out with our garage sale by developing the map that we used and putting all those little itty bitty numbers on that map and then getting all the descriptions in the other side of that map for the garage sale. He did a great job.
Can you read his bio?
I could, or we could just ask him to talk about himself.
That's fine, either way.
Nick, you want to talk about yourself?
Okay. So, yeah, I'm looking for ways to be more involved in my immediate community. Like I said, well, I grew up in San Francisco, but my grandparents lived here, and so I came here every summer until about 15 years ago. Then we moved here, my wife and 2 kids. I worked as a marketing manager and graphic designer for an architecture firm for about the last 20 years, which is mostly remote. So this is one way where I can be involved in my immediate community. Yeah, I'm probably most interested in land use planning, transit, housing density issues, and open to hearing where, other ways I can take part, like I did in the garage sale.
Great. Yes, Meryl. Yes. You have a question? You have to unmute yourself. Put the
Said he's
cursor on.
trying.
Okay. Hey, so I'm just looking at the bylaws and it says board members shall be elected annually by the vote of the membership at the spring meeting. So is it appropriate to elect Nick at this meeting?
If we have a vacancy and it's a needed position, which officers are, unless you want to be the secretary for us.
You
Meryl.
already have a secretary. Nick's trying to be at large.
Oh, but Nick is going to go ahead and serve as an at-large, and the 4 officers have been elected at the meeting.
But no, it says board members shall be elected annually by a vote of the membership at the spring meeting.
Well, that's a good
I
point.
mean, that's what your bylaws say. I mean, you're either going to abide by your bylaws or not.
It's true. And what we've done in the past is allowed the board itself to go ahead and bring in members of at-large in the interim, because it takes a lot of capital just to have a board meeting. And we lose 1 or 2 board members every year to attrition.
I understand that, Tamara, but you have bylaws that you're either going to adhere to or not adhere to.
So is there a bylaw around replacing board members throughout the year?
Oh, there is. I missed that one. My mistake. I apologize. Despite everything I said, okay?
I'm just wondering.
The board may fill any vacancy by a majority vote of the board.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right. So all those in favor? Well, we have to have a motion and then a second.
This is Ian. I'll move to elect Nick to the board.
I will second that.
Okay. Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you.
Yay. Excellent. Next, we have the agenda for the meeting. And I think all of you have got a copy of that. We will finish up this segment when we have the treasurer's report, CNN LUTOP report, and then talk about the meeting schedule. We're running a little bit behind because it's already 7:32. After that, we'll have the review of our last general membership meeting, recap of the neighborhood-wide garage sale, and an overview of the Northeast Sacramento and Alameda Slow Streets project. Beyond that is to talk about the new business, which is Chip Drop group that is doing the Keep Fraser Park Green event on the 11th, which is this Saturday. Concerts in the Park, which is on July 23rd. And then we have committee reports. Are there any additions or subtractions or changes that need to be done with this? Marina, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Wasn't sure. All right. No changes. We'll just go ahead and move on.
I had a question in the chat box. This is Sharon.
Oh, hi, Sharon. Yeah, don't have that information handily available. You don't have a copy of the agenda?
She asked when were the bylaws last reviewed?
Oh my God. Do you remember, Kelly? You were the one that reviewed them. You were the chair at the time.
No, I don't remember. So it's been probably 10 years or more.
This is Ian. The bylaws, I believe, if I recall, they indicate when they were last amended. So it might be in the document.
2012. They were last amended in 2012.
Okay. So 10 years, exactly. Okay, we have board minutes from the April meeting to review. Has everyone had a chance to review that document?
I have not seen where they were available.
They should have been on the documents, in the documents file. They were written by Don Levine. And if you haven't seen them, then we can postpone that.
No, that's right. I remember them from Don now. Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the minutes? Anyone? Terry, have you reviewed the minutes?
Barry, you're muted.
Jerry, we can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. That's why I don't leave myself muted, because I always forget to unmute. I don't remember specifically reading those minutes. When I looked at the minutes, they were the March minutes for the special board meeting. I remember reviewing those, so I apologize. If they weren't sent out to me for this meeting, I probably didn't review them.
They were in the documents folder that was sent out. So if you click on the documents
Well,
folder.
I remember doing the March special meeting, and that's what I thought. And I was, well, that's strange that this is, and maybe I didn't go far enough. I apologize.
It's okay. That's okay. What we'll do is, if it's the pleasure of the group here, that we'll just postpone those minutes, review those minutes until the next meeting, to make sure that all the former members have had a chance to review them and go ahead. And Kelly,
And be sure you send them out.
They are available if you go online and click on the content of the document package. And that's actually on the top of the agenda is the link for the document package. And it was in the email as well. Okay, let's move on. We've got a treasurer's report.
As stated, those are also available in the documents folder. For the month of May, we did have $39 registration fees, brought in $825 in gross income for the garage sale. I'll have a recap, and the recap for the garage sale, we ended up with a net of $480.77. There's also that includes one reimbursement that still has not been paid. There is also the budget to the end of May 31st and a proposed budget for the 2022-2023 year in the document file.
Okay. Any questions of Richard at this point? I know you're all just like getting overwhelmed with so much information, but just if you have questions, I'm available. Richard's available. Review stuff, ask questions, and such as Sharon says, the bylaws are in serious need of review and relevancy and functionality. Yeah, that's true. And it's as you know, Sharon, when we tried to do a bylaws review, we got 3 meetings in and then we couldn't go any further because no one had the time. So
we kind of got waylaid, I think, through a couple other things, and sometimes you need help with people who can kind of step back. We got bogged down in some of the weeds there, but I think it was possible, and then some other personal issues came up and we kind of got waylaid, but I think it can happen. I'm not unhopeful.
I agree. I think it can happen too. Yes, Susan.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
I sent a letter to the board, and I'm just wondering, I didn't see that in the packet for tonight's meeting. I'm just wondering if everybody on the board received the letter.
Actually, we didn't get it in time for the packet, but we did receive it, and I was going to have Kelly review that as part of the land use and transportation, because that pertains to our agenda for next month.
Okay, as long as I know that it will go to everybody on the board.
It will.
Before that's discussed. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
It was circulated by email as well.
I thought I had circulated it, but I may not have. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it just went to the officers or not, but it will get circulated.
Thanks.
You bet. Okay.
Tamara, question. Tamara, for you and for Sharon and anyone else, can I just get a sense of what some of the concerns are with the bylaws? I'd like to just kind of start thinking about it, what some of the concerns of what needs to be updated or what had happened in the past that kind of instigated the idea that we need to look at them.
I can speak to that. This is Sharon.
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Thank you. That's a long time.
Yeah,
I can speak to that.
We're running out of time.
A business, an organization is only as valid as the documents that they run by. And most reasonable organizations review their documents, I would say at minimum every 3 years. To have a document that is 10 years or older that has not even been reviewed, and that just means look at it, you can just read it, sit in a meeting, review it, and sign your name and put a new date on it. But this has not even done that. So it is just appropriate and refreshing, and allows all of the members of the organization to understand the business, the organization, the function, the rules by which they go by. So I'm not pointing out to anything specific in the document because bylaws are a living, breathing document. And from the title, the very top, to the very end, they all interrelate. So you can't just take out Article 1 and start fiddling with it because Article 1 may apply to Article 6 and Article 6 may apply to Article 3 sub A sub 2. You don't do that. You have to look at it as in its entirety. It's a living, breathing document by which people refer to and function. And that includes our charter, our land use and transportation charter. So if you go into a new business or you get a new job, you want to see their documents because you want to see to the standards to which you are held. And in a medical physician, for instance, they have policies and procedures. Every new doctor that goes into an organization reviews all those policies and procedures, just like the bylaws or the charter. They're all very similar. And you abide by those, and you function by those, and you communicate through those. So that's why I asked the question, when were they reviewed? And I see now it was 2012. That is way too long. That's my statement.
Okay.
I'm done. Less than 5 minutes.
Thank you. All right. Does that help, Zachary?
Yep, I thought maybe there was something specific, but that I totally understand the idea of reviewing. That's great.
Yeah. I can go on about that, but we don't have the time. Okay, CNN report. Terry?
This is the LUTOP? Okay. At the LUTOP meeting, we got to see the PowerPoint that was delivered to our Land Use and Transportation Committee, the PowerPoint by PBOT, although nobody from PBOT was there. And basically that was the discussion at the meeting. And I'm just going to paraphrase a couple of things that came up. From Beaumont Wilshire, they were concerned about not having a way to get to Sandy eastbound. They were concerned about the fact that it could put more traffic on Fremont, which is a high crash corridor that has a lot of pedestrian activity, and there was a death on Fremont. It will also slow the buses on Fremont. It may speed the buses up on Sandy, and they feel like the traffic that is on Alameda is a lot of it is neighborhood traffic, people from the neighborhood that are driving on Alameda. From the Roseway chair, he said he bikes Alameda all the time and the street's wide enough for both cars and bikes. And from Joe, which actually is an older statement on another subject, as far as putting the crosswalk on 47th and Broadway, she lives a block from there on 46 and said she doesn't see it's necessary. And that was from a previous meeting. And for those who don't know, we're talking about Alameda and blocking it one way eastbound on the last block between 56th and 57th, going eastbound entering Sandy, about closing that off. That's what we're talking about. And these were the comments related to that. I'm sorry, I should have brought that up at first, what the issue was.
Yeah.
Closing it off altogether to traffic?
To eastbound traffic to get onto Sandy at 57th, between 56, just to automobiles, not to bicycles, just to automobiles, which is going to make the automobiles either go down 54th Avenue, which is extremely dangerous. Joe had said that as well at a previous meeting, that she thinks that's extremely dangerous. There's vehicles loading there, parked cars, or go up to, what is it, Klickitat or Stanton or whatever the next street is up to get over to 57th. So it's going to add more circulation of vehicles within the neighborhood to stop that. And I got the impression at the LUTOP meeting that there weren't very many people, if any, in favor of doing that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so do you know if CNN Lutop is going to recommend anything beyond, I mean, as a CNN board? If we as a neighborhood make an action and Beaumont does an action, then it's possible that a letter could come from CNN to PBOT, right?
That's possible. Let me explain one thing. I lost my internet connection at part of the meeting. So if any motion was made, I didn't hear it, but I'm not aware of a motion being made because I am in contact with Allison frequently, and I'm sure she would have told me. But I think that would be a possibility. Yes, if we said we don't want it, and Beaumont said they don't want it, and Hollywood said they don't want it. I'm referring to what Joe has said. Joe is Hollywood chair. That yeah, CNN may very well do that. Roseway, I don't think wants it.
Okay.
So
All right, so that might be one of the next steps. Yes, Nick.
Yeah, just want a clarification. Is the proposal to block one lane of traffic, or I thought it was just to not have a right turn? No,
Nick, it's to divert traffic at 56 off of Alameda. So it's going to divert it to 256 northbound. They're going to put up bollards or barrels or something there so that you cannot even enter Sandy in a motor vehicle from Alameda at 57th. And the idea is that it will give a little bit more green time to the buses on Sandy during the rush hours, and so it'll speed up the buses. But it very well could slow down the buses over on Fremont. There's a lot more traffic there from Beaumont, Wilshire, or something like that. Because they were concerned about that. They use Alameda to get to Sandy.
Okay.
So bollards at 56th or at 57th?
At 56th, you're blocking. What they would be doing would be cutting off the traffic going eastbound on Alameda for one block.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't clarify that earlier.
Oh, good information. Thank you. Okay, well, that gives us something to go on as we, at the land use level, review that item and hopefully bring that to the board with an action. Okay, then I have one more item to share in administration, and that is the schedule for this next year. And right now this is what we've got so far. I am not good at this. Oh, it jumps around. All right, so we've got July 5th lined up, and everything lined up except for March 28th, because that falls right in the middle of spring break. And what's important about what date we choose makes a difference on publication date down here, because the deadlines have to be in time for those meetings. So if we push that date back a week,
So like the 21st?
Yeah, I think so. Look at my calendar right now.
While you're looking at your calendar, I see one other potential problem, and that's the September board meeting, being it's the day after Labor Day. It's not going to make any difference for me, but it may make some difference for some people, because that's when I was working. If there was a holiday during a week, that's when the people took their vacations. That's when the seniority people took their vacations.
And which date are you're talking about here?
September 6th.
Okay.
For the board meeting. Being the day after Labor Day, it may reduce our attendance. It may not.
Okay. Well, with March out. The next date back would be the 21st, March 21st. And I'm not sure how to read this. I guess it would put it back a week, so the deadline would be February 1st, potentially, right there. If that works for everyone, we can do this as a tentative approval. We have to get the buy-off of delivery folks as well as the editor. So do I hear a motion to go ahead and shoot for the 21st? And
So move.
is there a second? Nick, you can speak up.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, yeah. It was mentioned there's frustration or a potential problem with September 6th. Do I hear any offer for a change in that? Or do you, I don't see it as a
Can you
problem.
make it a week later? Can you make it a week later? Because we don't have a board meeting the next month, so. I mean, if it's not gonna impact people, I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, I just think that it might.
Well, that's another consideration that I had forgotten to bring up, is the fact that some of the Richard and Jennifer, who used to be our secretary, thought it would be best if we had a board meeting even on the months that we have a general membership meeting. So that's not reflected here. And I don't know what people feel about that, because I would add a couple more hours.
We don't have to decide that tonight.
No, but it's if we can, that would be easier. If we, okay, keeping on to the September 6th, if we push it back to the 13th, that could be problematic as far as what we have coming from the land use, because it ends up being 2 days before the land use committee meeting for the next meeting.
One of the things I would be concerned about is that then you're pushing it into the first week of school. And I think that may be a problem for those on the board that are parents. I think there's a lot of activity that happens that very first week, especially with younger kids. And so I actually think maybe the day after Labor Day is less problematic. Is it possible to hold that until, I mean, it's a long way off to be planning and people actually knowing what they're going to be doing during that time? Is it possible to hold off? I haven't looked at the bylaws as far as scheduling, but I don't know if that's a possibility.
I think, well, we basically do things in quarters, and because of we send out 4 newsletters a year to platoon with the general meetings.
I also, sorry to throw another wrench in things, but July 5th might also be problematic. People going away for that weekend. I know I won't be here, but I might be the only one.
Thanks for catching that. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I think this is all tentative, but if there are going to be changes for a quarter, we need to know that the quarter before. Okay. So if there's going to be a change, let's say in September, then we really need to know about that now. So you know, because that will bear on our next general membership meeting.
Same
And
with July 5th.
Portland Public Schools start the last week of August.
Yeah. And right now,
Their first day of school is August 30th.
okay. And for October, September 4th. So yeah, we need to have,
As a parent, I personally don't think that first week of school seems, I think parents are usually happy that week and happy to have their kids off to school. It doesn't seem, that doesn't add too much to our schedule.
I agree with that. It feels like most of the activity is during the day. So I think that's, yeah, during that week is fine.
having it on the 6th is okay? Okay.
Or the first week of school, I think, as proposed.
Right. Okay.
But she was thinking the first week of school was a week later than the 6th, the 13th of September.
It's actually August 30th is the first week.
Yeah.
What is a real kicker is we have September 4th, which is 2 days before September 6th meeting, which is going to be the deadline for the October edition. That would mean that on August 2nd, we really need to identify what we're going to have at the general membership meeting. So it's just planning ahead enough to know what's going to be in the newsletter, because all of that has to be written and ready to go. At least all of our articles need to be in by September 4th for the October newsletter. Okay, well, as is, if we can just vote on this as a tentative schedule, and then we can go from there.
Question.
Yes.
How tentative, and I didn't catch this because I was reading the notes, but how tentative is July 5th? I mean, somebody already said they're not going to be able to be there. I know I've got plans for the weekend, although I'll be here July 5th.
Well, I'm going to be here, and I think as long as we have 8 members, then we're good. And that's all we need for a quorum. That gives us enough breathing room, I think, with what we now have as 15 people on the board, which is good. So unless you want a motion to change it at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt it as amended, with the March 21st being the date instead of March 28th being that general meeting date.
I so move.
Okay. Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right. You got a calendar. Woo! Okay, this has taken me about half an hour longer than I had planned. So, maybe we can make this quicker. The next item is a recap of our last meeting and the general membership meeting and board elections. Did everybody seem to like it? Was it okay being on Zoom? Did they find the speakers compelling?
I'll make a comment. I sure found the lady that talked about the charter review very, very knowledgeable, particularly when she was asked questions, as far as giving great answers. I'd heard what she'd said before, but she really delved into the question or answering the questions, and I thought that was great.
I thought so too. Anyone else?
And it was done in language we could understand.
Yeah. Susan?
I don't know whether I'm someone who can comment on this because I'm not on the board, but I thought both speakers were excellent. And in fact, I had Honel out here to look at one of my trees today. So that was very, very helpful.
Good. He's helped me a lot. Yeah, Marina.
Yeah, I thought they were both incredibly informative, and I especially appreciated Melanie, who spoke about the charter, and have asked her to speak at another meeting for a completely unrelated group that I'm a part of. So I think it's important to get that information out to the public.
Good. Excellent. Okay, and I thought the elections went pretty well, given that it was digital this time. And I actually had Allison Stoll, who is our executive director, go through the ballots to make sure that my assessment of removing 6 ballots that didn't have the actual address in their document had to be tossed. And there was one that had an email address, and it was an address, so that was accepted. So I wanted to let you know that. And Susan, do you have a question again?
Sorry, I've got another comment. I think the elections could have been improved if people had been able to see who the candidates were and consider the candidates. I know that you suggested that people, while the speakers were speaking, people look over the CVs of the candidates, but that's sort of not giving the consideration to either party, either the candidates or to whoever was speaking. So I think it would be good if that could go out earlier so people could actually consider who they're voting for.
Actually, those bios were up 4 days before the meeting on the website. Part of that is, how do we get people to know that, you know?
Exactly.
And I think at least now we can put that information in the newsletter along with the link for the survey, you know, for the elections. Now we know it can work that way, which is great because we didn't know that before. And this happened because we couldn't meet in person, so it was after the fact. Yeah, Terry.
Yeah, Tamara, you are aware that some people could not access the address field, would not take an address in the Survey Monkey. And I do know of one person that put in a zip code only because she wanted to keep it secret.
Well,
And
that one had to be tossed.
I'm sure it had, but I mean, that creates problems. It's not, I mean, it does. I mean, it wasn't a secret ballot. It should have been a secret ballot, or at least we had a committee that was non-elected, non-vote, people that weren't running from the board actually handle the election. That's what another group that I belong to does. The Railway Historical Society. They adopt an election committee. The election committee handles the election so that the people that are running for the office have nothing to do with it.
That's a nice idea. I like that. Maybe you can help us figure out who we could lean on next time to run it for us. Sharon.
Yes, I just want to repeat, and I put it in the chat box, that the system would not accept valid addresses. That people tried to vote multiple times. It refused to accept it. It would only accept it if you remove the address. And then, of course, then the vote was thrown out, but it would not accept it. Also, when you are in a household, for instance, maybe you have 1, 2, 3 or more valid voters over the age of 18 and older, and maybe you have one device. You cannot vote from the same device.
Got it.
You have to have multiple devices. So this had multiple flaws in it. multiple flaws. And to throw out, I know of a number of valid votes that were thrown out, even using different devices, that it would not accept a valid address. So whatever that system is, a problem where the glitch was within, what is it, SurveyMonkey or MailChimp or whatever it's called.
Or it could have been in the platform that they were accessing it. Were they using Chrome or were they using Firefox? I mean, there's different platforms that do weird things to the software.
They were, I don't know, they were on the website where you could go to vote and click on the link using maybe a tablet or a phone or a desktop,
well,
even a laptop.
Let's take this conversation out
well,
of here.
I just wanted it noted.
I want to know all of that.
I just want the board to hear this in open session, and I put that in the chat box that this was a flawed election.
Okay.
And you know, I also, outreach is something really, really important, to have so many households and so few attempted voters. Outreach needs to happen. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and as I said in my response to your query, having the SurveyMonkey available, and let's make sure that everybody has a separate device or a way in which more than one person per household could vote.
Using the same device? Possibly
using the same device. And that would be, then we would need people's names as well as their address. Then you get into the privacy issues.
Well, but yeah, Amy, even submitting your address breaches your privacy issue there. So maybe having a separate committee handle the voting is the best thing if you're going to still be doing it remotely.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, valid issues brought up. Thank you so much. Good. All right. Then neighborhood garage sale recap. I think we had a recap from Richard on how much money we actually netted, which was less than I thought, but it's still $480, which is good. And I thought everyone who participated in it, including Nick and Holly and Talia and, oh my gosh, Richard and Terry, did a great job in trying to get as many folks to sell on and buy at the event. Are there any words of wisdom on that, Terry?
Yeah, I think that better than the posters, we could have had lawn signs. You know, like the campaign signs. That's what some of the other ones do. And then you can stick them in the ground, and if you print them right, you can reuse them year after year if we decide to continue with such a project. And one other really quick note, that I went to the sale that was our former mayor's Bud Clark's, and had a great conversation with his two sons, and bought one little plaque there that said Portland Courthouse, but it wasn't real. It was from it was a movie prop, and I'm trying to think of the name of the movie now, but it really had just kind of an unusual item, and they only charged me $5 for it, so I was real happy with that.
Okay, Richard.
So if we continue to do the yard sale in the same time frame, with Terry, I think we should do signs that would say, you know, Rose City Park neighborhood garage sale, always the whatever Monday in May. And that way you don't have to change the date. When you make them double-sided, and we can get them for, well, they're not inexpensive, but they're more permanent than the things that we had, I'm sure, and it would be something to look to invest in for future years.
Given that we don't have a fundraiser other than that right now, we used to have the neighborhood cleanup, but all of that went away. for various reasons, including Chloe Udaly and then no support from Metro for doing the dumps, free dumps anymore, or reduced tipping fees. I heard that it might be coming back, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So I think looking at the garage sales for the future is a very good way to look at income. And then also, we did not tap into advertisement on the signs, on the flyers as well, which would be helpful. And we could make more money that way.
Yeah.
So I think overall it was a success. Yeah?
Yeah.
Again, Terry?
Yeah, really quickly, I remember the name of the movie. It was Grimm. It was a prop from Grimm.
Okay, well, that's not pertinent to the topic that we're talking about right now. Thank you, though. It's a great story.
Oh, sorry. One of the things that I think would be helpful is to actually, if we do have dates on the signs, to put those out ahead of time so that, maybe a week, 2 weeks, so that people know it's coming.
Absolutely.
And have that to look forward to. So, I mean, traditionally with garage sales, you want to put it out the night before like we did. And that generally works. But I think for a neighborhood event, putting them out ahead of time would be really, really helpful.
Okay, do I get a general support from the board here to proceed with, Zachary?
Yeah, just a quick question. Was there a plan for getting all the signs taken down? I've kind of been ad hoc as I wander around with my kids in the stroller, just taking them down. But do we have a plan for that, or should we all just kind of grab them as we see them?
I think just grab them as you see them. We had volunteers put them up in various places, and I've been doing exactly the same thing, pulling them down as I see them.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a general support for us to go ahead and move forward with the garage sales for next year? Okay, that's a yes.
We don't have to take it up now. I mean, we can
No,
look at it around the
but
first of the
I
year.
think it's really important for us as we plan ahead, because you got to plan this year for next year's garage sale.
True.
When you time it all out. So what I'll do is start up a project description and bring that back. And anyone else who would like to take this on for next year, I don't want it on my lap for another year. But I'd love to get the support of those who would be interested in stepping up and helping shepherd this through. Yes, Susan?
I have another quick suggestion based on Zach's question. Probably people who post those signs, just let them know that they should be responsible for picking them up. So if you put them out, you pick them up.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Then we have the overview for Alameda slow streets. At this point, I don't have any displays to show you. I can bring you to the link on PBOT's site that talks about the slow streets for Alameda as well as for Sacramento Street. And we went through meetings that started in December of last year for the Land Use and Transportation Committee. That had an informal meeting in December. Then we had a meeting in January where there was a motion to recommend the approval of all of them actually for the board, and then the board rendered their decision in April. The problem being is that at that time we didn't know that the board was not really valid in that there were only 8 members. Our bylaws say there needs to be a minimum of 11 members. And because of that, it ends up being a group of well-meaning citizens that forwarded a letter under the land use and under the Rose City Park letterhead to PBOT instead of an actual neighborhood association. I know Merrill is going to state that it should stand because it was not challenged. And the problem being is that it wasn't an actual association, so the bylaws do not apply.
Well, that's your saying that, Tamara. You're making that decision, right?
Well, that's my assessment, and we're going to have to hire a lawyer to
Right. Well, I'm going to file a grievance under Article 10 because I don't believe you're proceeding appropriately. Can I finish what I'm saying?
Oh, you sure can.
Okay. I don't believe you're proceeding appropriately. So I believe it's a violation of the bylaws, what you're attempting to do here, Tamara. Perhaps you could take this to the board and the board could say whether it was valid or invalid. But I am going to go ahead and file a grievance, and I think you should postpone any revote on Sacramento pending resolution of the grievance.
Okay. You have been heard. And Terry?
Wouldn't it just be really simple? The simplest thing to do would be to have our board validate the letter that was sent. Now that we have a full board, say, okay, we validate what was done in the absence of a full board and move forward.
That would be the simplest, but it may not be the most ethical, because then you're asking people that were not there to approve something someone else approved. And I understand the grievance of Merrill saying that it's, that we have to, it's not my decision, let's say, to say it has to be reviewed again. It really is up to the board, you members, whether it has to be reviewed again, because you are the actual board now. And as I stated in my email to the officers right before this meeting, is since we have an attorney who is challenging us proceeding to have another public review, then we have to have our attorney, hire an attorney to address that question. And it may be that we can address this through resolution for the grievance prior to our next meeting. We may not. That means it might just be postponed. Or what we can do as a board is choose to retract the letter, which went under the neighborhood letterhead, and not make a comment at all. And that's the purview of this board. The actions moving forward, if you choose to move forward with reviewing this, is you can review the material and then either go ahead and affirm that decision as was issued in April 5th, or then take new testimony and then render a decision based on both the past information and the new testimony. So that's my interpretation of what would happen. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so then again, it is up to the lawyer in advising us and then moving forward with that advice. But at this point, it is up to the board to choose which direction to go based on what we find from the lawyer. And we do need to have $200 at least issued so we can go ahead and hire a lawyer to address Merrill's complaint.
Can somebody fill us in on what this is about?
Okay, yes, it's about I'm sorry, I should have done that at the beginning, just kind of like Terry is like, uh-oh. Yeah, it's about the Sacramento slow streets. Sacramento slow streets is it was started as a way in which to get people out of the house and slow drivers down so people could have more access to walking in the streets during COVID. And now Peabody is wanting to make all those slow streets into permanent slow streets. And in doing so, they're proposing to put bollards, concrete bollards up at certain intersections, such as at 64th and Sacramento, and then 62nd and Sacramento. And those bollards end up pushing, actually removing a number of parking spaces along in those areas, and also becoming somewhat of an eyesore since they are about 12 feet tall in their signs. So at this point, I think it's up to the board to decide our next movement. I understand that Merrill has a grievance and wants to speak again. But,
sorry, Tamara.
Yes.
So what happened on April 5th exactly?
The actual approval was to go ahead and have the easternmost two bollards at 64th approved, as long as the signs were set off to the side and not in the bollards, because that is an actual viewpoint that was accepted by the city. And then there was the no-go for the bollard at 62nd, but with approval of the crosswalk there at the head of the stairs at Sacramento and Rose City Park, and with the request that there would be reflectors placed in that crosswalk so that they would act like a rumple strip, so people would hear that they are going into a pedestrian zone as well as see it with stripes. And that hopefully would slow enough people down so we wouldn't need to have bollard put in 62nd.
And there were also two signs put up at the crosswalk.
At the crosswalk, correct.
Okay.
And it's on the minutes for the April 5th meeting. It's on the first page. Number 3 approves the crosswalk, and number 4 requests that PBOT delay the eyesore pending a survey, see how things go. I mean, it was a very, I think it was a good compromise then, and I really don't know why it would need to be revisited at this point.
Okay, you weren't called on, but thank you for your comment. Sharon?
Yes, just for historical purposes, PBOT never intended, or it wasn't PBOT's idea in any manner, shape, or form for anything to occur at 62nd. And it came up, a neighbor brought it up because they were concerned about things on their street at 64th. And an idea was brought forth. PBOT kind of interacted with us, but it was never their intent. And in fact, the notice that was sent out to the area neighbors didn't say we're going to do this. It said, this is an idea, here's an idea, and there's going to be a discussion about it, which we had. And because of concern, once it came forth, what was the dramatic changes that would happen at that intersection, PBOT is more than willing and has voiced multiple times they are willing to drop any consideration at 62nd whatsoever. They did, however, install a sidewalk or a crosswalk with 2 pedestrian signs with arrows pointing to that crosswalk. And then there was a special board meeting and then a full board meeting on April 4th. And what Merrill just read is what came forth from that. So it's not PBOT's intent. It's not PBOT's forcing. It wasn't PBOT's idea. There were no safety concerns at that intersection at all. I live 1 block to the west of that intersection. I'm not directly involved with that intersection. I've lived here for 35 years, but for historical purposes, board members who are new to this was nothing. PBOT never said they were going to do this and
Okay.
demanded that it happen.
Thank you. We were not planning on taking testimony tonight.
Well, that's historic. That's history. That's
Okay.
that's putting it in historical context. Thank you.
Okay. So
Tamara,
at this point, I would entertain a motion of how we want to proceed. Kelly?
I'm not sure what the best track is to proceed here, Tamara. You might have to help me.
Well, I think we need an authorization of at least $200 to hire an attorney to respond to Merrill's statements.
So we should move essentially that we expend the $200 to hire an attorney to address the grievance with the intent that then the board would act once that process is completed.
That, and also his assertion that the board doesn't have the right to make a decision on whether or not the April 5th motion was valid.
I mean, what is the grievance itself about? If it's about the April 5th incident, then it's been more than 45 days since then.
Well, that's one thing I'm saying is that, nobody's filed a grievance. Nobody's disputed the vote. And I'm guessing that many, many votes were taken by this neighborhood association with less than 11 members on the board. So if anybody wanted to dispute the vote, they would have to do that within 45 days. That didn't happen. Now, Tamara is unilaterally saying that the vote was invalid. So the
I'm saying tentatively that it's
let me
valid.
finish talking.
Okay.
You're unilaterally saying the vote was invalid, and you do not have authority under the bylaws to unilaterally decide that. So that's what the grievance is about. You invalidating the vote on your own.
I have no power to invalidate the vote. I said the board would have to decide on what to do regarding the vote, and the board has the power to do that. Zachary.
I was going to suggest that I wouldn't support spending $200 on this. I think as a bunch of adults and neighbors, we can A, either figure it out, or B, we need to actually see, the documentation that Merrill brings forward. I've got a conceptual idea of what it is, but I would need to see, Merrill, what your concerns are and articulated. And so before we spent money on something, I think that, like I said, as adults, we can figure out. I'd just like to see what you're concerned about, Merrill, in writing. So there's no harm writing a grievance. We can look at it together. We can have a conversation. If we need to consult a lawyer and spend that money, then we can. But I hate the idea of preemptively spending that money on having someone doing that.
I agree. It was just a recommendation by Allison, because once you bring a lawyer into the mix that posts the grievance, you have to respond to that legally with another lawyer.
Well, I'm all in favor of an informal discussion to get this resolved. I'll submit the grievance in writing tomorrow, and we can take it from there.
All right. Susan.
I think there's a simple way of resolving this based on something that you said, Tamara. You said that the board could choose not to move forward and no letter would be sent. This has been going on for months. And I don't understand why there has not been a move on the board's behalf to meet the neighbors halfway, to turn this into a win-win. We agreed to the crosswalk. The signage has been added. I don't understand why a bollard needs to be placed there. It could so easily be resolved.
Okay, well, I think at this point we're going to go ahead and proceed with accepting the grievance and move forward from there. Is that right, Zachary?
Well, I was just going to say, I don't, last year's board, it was last year's board. I think Meryl, you disagree. I think that it was a legitimate or illegitimate vote. Susan, your point's totally well taken, but I would hate for, 12 new members, 13 new members to have to kind of give up their right and just abjectly say sure to something. You may find that every single one of those folks are going to just say, yep, totally, we're going to go with that last decision. But it seems fair to the new folks that they at least get a chance to read the documents, have a quick conversation. All the testimony is on video and documents. It seems fair to them to have that capacity, that opportunity. Sorry.
Okay. So at this point, we will just go on to the next topic. We have Chip Drop Brigade that is going to have their event at Fraser Park to spread mulch around the base of the trees there at Fraser Park. We're going to have 2 piles provided by Parks and Recreation, and CNN has gone ahead and authorized the funding for having an overtime staff person from Parks and Recreation there on Saturday to help instruct us, and also pay for pizzas. And we're getting donations of goodies to be eaten, and also I'm buying up some water and putting it in the cooler for everybody. So if you have time on Saturday, the 11th, please join us at Fraser Park, which is at 909 Northeast 52nd Avenue, and bring work gloves. If not, we've got some work gloves for you, rakes, shovels, wheelbarrows, and hopefully we'll just snap through this and get those all taken care of between 8 and noon on Saturday the 11th. So if you have some time, if you're interested, having a good time, bring your kids. It'll be a family affair. Don't bring your dog. They might get in the way. Just saying. But bring them if you want to. All right. Then we have concerts in the park. And that's scheduled for July 23rd with Lil Queenie. Right now we need a new lead because Jennifer has stepped down from the board. And that is coming up. And more activity needs to be done by all of us because that also is a fundraiser of having music in the park. And then we pass a hat and ask for donations. And that's another way in which we get some funds. Zachary.
Hey, just noting, Sharon had a concern about liability waivers for events that we're putting on where people are doing something that they might be, throw out their back or crash a bike, like in the thing that I'm going to be doing. Are we doing waivers for the Chip Brigade stuff, and will they just be there at the spot?
Yes, they will be there at the spot. I've already got it ready to go,
Okay.
ready to be printed. And I'm going to have CNN print me some copies, like 35. So we have those at the site, so folks sign them before they start up with their gloves.
Who's
And
the waiver for?
It's waiving liability and
For
injury.
For the city or for
Rose City Park and CNN.
Is CNN mandating that?
It is something that we traditionally hand out. I believe it is something we need to have when we're as a protective implement when we do any outdoor activities.
Yeah, in all the years that I've been here, I've never seen it at all. I noticed your nextdoor.com notice. It didn't mention anything about waivers. It was just in your letter when you requested the grant money, you said you would get a waiver of liability. And I wasn't sure if that was for the city or for the neighborhood association. And I probably voiced to you before that I would never sign a waiver of liability. So I will not be doing the chip drop.
Okay.
I don't waive my rights for anybody. And I'm concerned about the neighborhood association getting involved in activities, which I think are the city's job at a park to be doing that, and then asking people to sign waivers. That's all I'll say. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we've had signed waivers for concerts in the park, for our
You mean for the volunteers?
Yeah, for neighborhood cleanups, all of those things. It's something that we do as a nonprofit.
Shows you what I know.
It's okay. We all have our ins and outs of knowledge. All right. So are there any folks that would be interested in helping out with the concerts in the park? Again, that's coming up on the 23rd of July. And we need people that are good at sleuthing things and even just making phone calls to get the noise ordinance variants that we need. All the different things that are the forefront before we get into it, including, making sure we have commodes on the site. And
Noise ordinance has been taken care of, and the noise ordinance has been taken care of, and it has.
Great.
And Jennifer is doing that. She's also trying to locate sanitation. So
Excellent.
to say that she's not following through, she's following through on this, even though she's not on the board.
Okay, great. Because I called her, I emailed her, I just hadn't heard. So thank you for filling us in on that, Richard. So does she need to have people join her in doing these steps, or do we just need to show up at the concert?
No, we do need people to help us get things done. But again, just to send her an email, not at her association email, but her personal email, and ask where she needs help. I know one thing, that we're not going to be using the same vehicle that we have used in the past to get the stage down to the place. And since we only need it for one weekend, we can do it on a U-Haul and take it down there and load it up and set it up, leave the U-Haul, sit down there and pick it up at the end of the day, and then just drop the U-Haul whenever we're finished getting the stage back to its storage.
Well, if we could get someone with pickup truck willing to help us, that would be cheaper than U-Haul, which costs.
Definitely.
Yeah. Zachary.
Super bummed I won't be at the Party of the Park. We happen to be out of town that weekend. It was, for those of you who have not been, it's a really great event. So I certainly encourage you to go and spread the word and invite folks. But when you contact Jennifer, rather than her getting a whole bunch of individual emails, please do let her know. I'm happy to help. Just to send me a text or give me a call or send me an email, and I'd be happy to help with some of the pre-planning stuff.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else interested in helping out? Beth?
I'll help. I'll throw my hat in.
Okay.
We may be able to help with the pickup truck part. July 24th. I need to get back on that, but
23rd.
Oh, July 23rd.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah. We might be able to help with the pickup truck part.
That'd be great.
Whoever's spearheading this now, just email me.
Okay.
Talia.
I'll put you down as for the pickup truck possible.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
I'll help out. Awesome.
Oh, Andrew, good. Excellent.
Tamara, I might be away that week. I'm firming up some dates, but I could also do pre-planning tasks, whatever might need to be done until I firm up my dates.
Yeah, we need advertisement and all sorts of other stuff
Okay,
happening.
great.
Great. Great.
You can put me on the list.
All right. Nick. Got you down. Thank you. Anyone interested in doing chip drop this Saturday? Anyway, if you can make it, make it.
I'll be there. That was
Yay.
Beth. That was me.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be there in the morning too.
Good.
We have a graduation to go to, but in the morning we hope to make a bit.
Okay.
I'll be there if I'm testing negative.
That would be great. Hope so. Okay, next we have our committee reports. We've got all of about 15 minutes left. So,
Tamara,
yes.
Tamara, I don't know whether you want to put committee report or not, but Community Day at the golf course, I do want to say something about that.
Okay, why don't you just blurt it out?
Okay, this is July 31st, which is a Sunday. It's going to be a community day at Rose City Golf Course. I'm on the committee. I'm on the historical tabling subcommittee. Joe Saraceno is on the promotion committee. A poster is being developed right now. I've seen a couple of iterations of it. There's going, it hasn't been finalized yet. There will be a concert in the evening, so it'll be a weekend, the weekend after our concert with Norman Sylvester. It starts at 6 o'clock. The community day will start around 1:30, give or take a half an hour. They're going to have activities for kids. We're going to have tables, history displays, all sorts of different things. Golfzilla will be there where the kids can pitch plastic golf balls into this big inflatable monster. And we can have a community table there. So if the neighborhood association wants to come and promote the neighborhood association and sell some history books, that's we're welcome to do that. So try to make the report brief, but we've only got one more board meeting in between now and the community day.
Great, thank you. Kelly, you want to give us an update?
Sure. So completing sidewalk infrastructure. We had a call with the city engineer, Steve Townsend, on April 27th to discuss our letter on sidewalk infrastructure. Our letter had two main questions. Why were properties on these unimproved streets permitted to be developed without sidewalks, curbs, and gutters? And what criteria does the office use to compel completion of sidewalk improvements? The city engineer, Steve, said he didn't know why sidewalks were not originally built with homes in Rose City Park. He also said that there were no tools or mechanisms at his disposal to compel the installation of sidewalk improvements. The city council does not have an appetite to burden property owners with the costs of those improvements. So the property owners essentially would have to come forward and all agree to an LID. Because there are so many unimproved streets in our neighborhood adjacent to the parks, we're also crafting a letter to Portland Parks Director Adina Long. So we're going to send that out shortly. I was not prepared to have that letter reviewed at the board tonight. Traffic changes at Sandy, Alameda, and 57th. We talked about that briefly at the start of the meeting. Scott Cohen from PVOT came to our May Land Use and Transportation meeting to present the latest plan for making Alameda at 57th and Sandy one-way westbound. He outlined the traffic information available, most of it pre-COVID, and committed to further monitoring traffic conditions after implementation at 51st, 54th, and 56th. As I understand it, the intention is to install temporary measures which could be modified in the future as conditions require. Finally, Hollywood Hub, TriMet, and Bridge Housing are presenting revised plans to CNN in June. The revised plans include 230 units. The Hollywood Hub is there adjacent to the 42nd Street Station, for those of you that don't know. They will be invited to an upcoming committee meeting, either in June or July, to present their revised plans. And that's all I got.
Thank you. And at this point, there's no action that has been taken for the Alameda streets, slow streets, by the committee. So that is possible in the future if we want to have another meeting on that topic. See how the appetite of the committee is and of the people. There were a lot of folks at that meeting. They're not very happy about it. Okay. We have e-mobility rides coming up.
Yeah, so I am leading. So if you've seen the orange Nike Town electric assist bicycles kind of in various parts of our neighborhood, I have been in contact with them and kind of working hand in hand with Tamara. We've got vouchers for people who want to come, just learn how to check them out, go for a little ride. And I'm going to lead those on the third Saturday of this month, the 18th, the third Saturday of next month, and the second Saturday of August. So it'll be 3 rides in the summer. I'm honestly going to be just stoked if we have like 5 people come, at least to the first one. I have received at least, I think, 6 interested emails, maybe 7. So the idea is to just introduce people on how to do the rides. It's free for the day. They said they'd sponsor us. And then we'll check them out, go for a little spin on the greenways, and then circle back around to the starting spot. The first ride, we're going to start right outside of Sandino's Coffee up there on Alameda and 57th, 8th-ish in there. So if you have some friends or anyone who's interested, you definitely can pass them on to me. I'm not using my personal email because it was public. And so if you go on, there's plenty of this stuff that's public, but if you go on, if they're interested and your friends are like, or you want to know, they can go onto the website. The newsletter has the little blurb where they can send me an email. It's like a very low entry. It's going to be only about an hour and 15-minute commitment. So if people are interested, they'll send me an email. I'm doing that rather than just like mass broadcasting it because the Bike Town folks are going to like bring enough bikes to that location. And it would be terrible to have 20 people show up and only have 10 bikes. And so we're trying to make sure we get the right amount, and we'll see how this first one goes on next Saturday, and then maybe retinker and make it a little bit better for the future.
I think it's great.
And by the way, if you've never ridden an e-bike, you should come. They are so fun. They really do just like make you feel like you woke up and had Lance Armstrong dust put on your quads.
It's great. And we have all of 10 minutes left. We have communications. Are there any items from communications for the summer?
Just the ones that have been mentioned, and the fact that we're looking at the schedule for the various meetings and how that's going to affect the newsletter. So once we get that done up, I know that our editor has been trying to put that together, and we've been looking at things. So that's pretty much it. And we did discuss the events coming up with the chip drop and the proposed healing event later in the summer. And we also had a and I don't know if we've forgotten about this, but is Zach going to mention the overpass?
Okay, Zach, you want to bring that up?
Totally. So we received, and thank you for that prompt there. I was just kind of holding off. We received an email from one of our neighbors who has noted, so put your map brains on right now and visualize the crossing going over I-84, the bridge on 53rd. And so he was saying, here's an opportunity to do some artwork and some placemaking It gets a lot of tagging, and maybe if we kind of rally the community, do something that represents Rose City Park neighborhood, bring people together and do that artwork. Maybe we could A, get out in front of some of the tagging, and B, do something that we can be proud of as a neighborhood that says, hey, welcome to Rose City Park. There's a lot of questions around jurisdiction, a lot of questions around maintenance, cost, all those kind of things. But he was basically saying, hey, is anyone interested? Can we explore this? So we're bringing it to the group today to say, should we explore it? Honestly, is the question. If the answer is yes, we should explore that, we can go back and kind of recruit him to do some of the footwork, and then we can bring that information back to us and see what we can do in terms of money and support. Does that sound like something we want to do?
I was real happy to see it, and the fact that he was starting to do some sketches already, and he referenced three other organizations where he was expecting to apply to and try and get some input from them. So I think let him know that we would love to see it, or I would love to see it.
I would too. It's a huge, back and forth daily for all the Laurelhurst families going to and from the school. I mean, it's just so high traffic. It would be lovely to have not such an eyesore to walk across each day.
Nice.
Great. Well, is there anything else there from folks?
You said 53rd?
Yes. The Greenway.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was 47th.
Yeah. What's the surface?
It's a bridge over 84.
No, I know the bridge, but we're talking about a mural.
Something. That's, I think, something that we all can put our heads together and around. But more, we need to figure out who to talk to get permission, what that would look like, where some money is. What's your concern there, Nick? Kind of flesh that out.
I'm just not understanding what the surface is where the mural would go.
Oh,
do you mean in the street?
I'm thinking he was thinking in the street, maybe on the sides, maybe even,
right.
I don't know if it's even possible, maybe on some of the bridge. I don't know.
I'm looking for a wall and I don't see a wall.
Totally. No.
Okay.
I think he's talking about kind of all those different pieces as a welcome into our neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. I'll let you know what we can find out.
And for those who hadn't heard that, I'm working with Don Levine, who's our safety coordinator, in trying to pull together a healing event for Normandale Park this fall, and that would be in response to the shooting event that happened on February 11th, killing one member of the community and hurting 5 others. The perpetrator is now in jail, but that doesn't resolve the trauma. And so we've been trying to get in touch with the Knightley family. The woman, June Knightley, was the one that was killed, and her wife is in the community still. And all those who had gathered there were there for a walking protest of a killing that had occurred in Portland 2 years prior of a Black man. So I've been trying to be sensitive and go slow, but also I've been somewhat stonewalled by a number of folks saying, oh, well, they'll reach out to you if they want anything. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but the idea is get a formation committee together shortly and pull together even a mural for the wall that is facing, I think it's not 57th, facing westbound on the pavilion. So pretty much at the entranceway into Normandale Park from the west is where a lot of the grieving took place, a lot of the flowers took place, and after her killing. And if we could have a mural dedicated to the community and that wall, it would be nice. We do have $5,000 from Civic Life to proceed with this, and in that money, they would be willing to have a plaque. And so we've been at least in discussion about having a plaque placed in that area. So anyone that's interested in helping out, I'd appreciate that. You can reach me now or after, anytime, if you're interested in helping out. Andrew? Okay. All right. So at this point, we've got 3 minutes left. The playground project doesn't have anyone linked to it from the board anymore because that was Greg. So if there's anyone out there that's interested in the Rose City Park playground, Terry, are you interested in the Rose City Park playground project?
I'll talk to Joe. I'll see Joe at least in a couple of weeks because we meet.
And that's what we need is have a liaison from Rose City Park to Joe.
I understand, but I want to talk to Joe before I would make any kind of a commitment.
Okay.
And I know Joe's still working on it, and Joe's on the golf course thing. So, although the meeting tomorrow he won't be at, he'll be at the meeting next a week from today.
Okay.
We're meeting every other week, the full committee, and then the subcommittees are meeting separately every other week. So he'll be at the full meeting. We had a nice conversation at the last one, but I'll see what he thinks. I don't want to. I want to talk to him before I make any kind of a commitment.
Zachary?
Can I jump in? Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the Rose City Park playground is going to be renovated. There's been some generous fundraising and some commitments from some outside organizations. And so coming together, raising, gosh, I want to say $250,000, 200,000, something like that, to really do a big push and redo the park or the playground part. Not all parts will be gone and totally renovated, but just a big section of it. And then I was just going to ask, does anyone know, is there a rough groundbreaking work on it schedule, or are they waiting for a certain time frame? Does anyone know?
Don't know.
I still think they needed 20 grand or more.
Yeah, I was going to say they're short about 20 to 30 grand at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Does that include the tennis courts?
No, there's nothing to do with the tennis courts. It has to do with putting in a multi-play structure and taking out the little house that's there, possibly the teeter-totters, possibly the slide. I'm not quite sure what. But I assume the swings are going to stay, and I assume the merry-go-round is going to stay because that merry-go-round was replaced a couple of 3 years ago.
Okay,
Although there has been some discussion around the tennis courts and their use and their quality of the surface, and if it should be repurposed to something like pickleball and or basketball or something. So those are conversations that are happening, Andrew, but just not related with this particular project.
Yeah, and the Land Use Committee did make a recommendation to the Parks Bureau on that, on what was taking place when that discussion took place. And I think it was allow at least one side for tennis and possibly the other side for, make it so it's convertible or something like. I don't remember exactly. Maybe Tamara, you remember what the.
It actually came to the board, and the board did issue a letter, and I can make that letter available to you. Andrew talks specifically about what we recommended. I don't remember off the top of my head, so I apologize.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so is there anyone else that would be interested in being a liaison for the playground project? See no hands? Okay, so Terry, we're going to put you on the hook for that as a tentative yes, in hopes that will work, because we can't authorize an organization without having a liaison. Authorize a project without having a liaison on the board. So that if we pull out, then basically CNN pulls out, and then everything would be in jeopardy as far as moving ahead with the funding. Okay.
Well, Joe and I get along great, so that's not. I don't see it as a problem, but I want to talk to him before I give you a firm yes.
Okay. Sharon, you had one comment. It's 9:01. So,
Yeah, I put it in the chat box. The money has been fully raised.
Oh,
they've hit it.
excellent.
Yeah, so they're going to do it, and you probably don't have to have a liaison if you don't want one, unless you want to further extend your involvement.
Okay. Thank you so much for that information.
Good to hear.
Good to hear. I'm glad they got the money.
And with that awesome news, I would like to motion to end this meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing that, by the way.
Yes.
Before we go, I came late to the meeting, Tamara. Have you reached out to the new board members to see what committees they would be interested in?
No, I haven't.
Could you do that?
I will do that.
There's a transportation meeting coming up, and I'd like to include new members if they would be interested.
Yes. Okay, I second that motion. Zachary, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay,
Excellent
bye,
job.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Talk
Thank
to
you,
you soon.
Tamara.
Bye-bye.